शोभा जी, वोट आपने डाल दिया, क्या उम्मीद लग रही है अब लोगों के उस हौसले को देखकर?
लोग मतदान केंद्र में आ रहे हैं एंड एक अच्छा सरकार लाने के लिए वोट डालने का इच्छा में है। कर्नाटका का विकास होना, भारत के साथ साथ कर्नाटका का विकास होना, आधा रुके हुए कार्यक्रमों को आगे बढ़ाना, डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम को, विकास का योजना को आगे बढ़ाना, इसके लिए लोग बहुत जल्दी आके इधर सरती में खड़े हैं, क्यू में खड़े हैं, वोट डाल रहे हैं।
आज डीके शिव कुमार ने उनको आंजनेय याद आए, उनको बजरंग बली याद आए और उन्होंने कहा कि हम मंदिर बनाएंगे और मेरा नाम ही शिवा है।
डीके शिव कुमार के साथ सत्ता था, उसी समय वो उन्हें क्या किया? उसी समय पॉपुलर फ्रंट ऑफ इंडिया का केस को वापस लिया, हिंदू लड़कों को हत्या हुआ था एंड वो तो उसका इंचार्ज, कर्नाटका का इंचार्ज सुरजेवाले ने आंजनेय को अपमान किया। आंजनेय का बाप का नाम सूर्य भगवान बोला। आंजनेय कर्नाटका में इसका जन्म नहीं हुआ इसे बोला। क्यों बोला है? अभी डर के वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं। वो तो डीके शिव कुमार सत्ता में थे, उसी समय कनकपुरा में विश्व का बहुत बड़ा यीशु क्रिस्त का स्टैचू बनाने का वादा किया था, इसको शिलान्यास भी किया। ये डीके शिव कुमार है, ये कांग्रेस है।
कांग्रेस ने आज सिलेंडर पे माला चढ़ाया और एक तरह से वो संदेश देने की कोशिश करी है कि महंगाई बहुत है।
कांग्रेस वाले डर गए हैं, विकास का मुद्दे लेकर वो चुनाव लड़ नहीं सकते हैं, इसीलिए ये सब ड्रामा कर रहे हैं एंड लोगों के साथ हम हैं। तो कोरोना था 3 साल, उसके बाद रशिया यूक्रेन का युद्ध हुआ था, इसके कारण बहुत हम किसी में आत्मनिर्भर नहीं है, उसी में थोड़ा सा बड़ा है, फिर भी आने वाले दिन में इसको हम तो सुलझाने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे।
How disillusioned you are, whether you agree with the political discourse of today or not, whether you agree with the politicians or not, whatever be the case, it is important that you go out there and vote. People in crutches, people in wheelchairs, go out and vote. People who are past 80, past 90 years of age, go out there and vote. So younger people have no excuse whatsoever to stay and not vote, stay at home and not vote. Go out there, vote. So far, the voting percentage is around 8%. For the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so, and that's not great, ladies and gentlemen. That's not great at all. It should have been around 15%. That's what my panelist, Mr. M. Rajendra, is telling us. Traditionally, it would have been 50, it would have crossed 15% by now after 2 to 3 hours of voting, but it hasn't, which means that a lot of voting percentage makeup has to be done towards the rest of the day. And here's hoping that it will get made up, and Karnataka will again post anywhere between 70 to 80, at least 70 to 80% of voting this time, at least, if not more. We're talking about a huge anti-incumbency feeling, which means that, Mr. Nair, the voting percentage has to be up more than 80% if the anti-incumbency feeling is so high.
Yeah, it should be. Normally that is what happens in every election. If the voting percentage goes up, means there is a wave against the government, the incumbent government. If it is low, means people are disillusioned. They are just, they just don't care about it. So that is how it happened, throughout the elections.
Right.
If it is high, means it is against the government in position. That is what normally happens. And as I told you earlier, corruption has been a major issue in Karnataka as anywhere else. And what they now started saying that 40% government. If you take some of the data that has been published by Association of Democratic Rights, ADR, you would find it quite interesting. Both the parties do not fare well in that. Like the total candidates is 795, and candidates with declared criminal cases is 269, that is 34% in Karnataka. And serious criminal cases is 165, that is 21%. This is this latest one. So if it is like that, even the political system itself is corrupt, means or criminals and corrupt people, then what the people can expect from them? This is what is happening. As I told you earlier, roads are maybe roads even in Bangalore, the roads are not good. Whosoever has travelled in Bangalore would say that it is not.
But disillusionment cannot be a reason for people not going
For
out
not
to,
voting.
Absolutely.
Not voting in, this is, I mean, whether we celebrate democracy or not, it's your fundamental right, fundamental duty, to go and cast your vote. I mean, quite disappointed.
Yeah. We're just hoping that Mr. Nair, that the disillusionment,
Disillusionment means, it doesn't mean that if you are disillusioned means you should all the more go and vote.
Absolute. That's an even better message. For all the young people out there, no, I don't agree with the politics, I'm disillusioned. Heck, if that's the case, you should be the one first standing in the line and casting your vote, making your political opinion heard. Ladies and gentlemen, on your screens, Kannada superstar Ramesh Arvind coming to vote, along with his wife. So those are the visuals of Ramesh Arvind, superstar in Kannada cinema, has acted in Tamil cinema, Malayalam cinema, as well. A very famous actor in the south of India, Ramesh Arvind, and a Bangalore boy, and a homeboy of Bengaluru, loved by people of Bengaluru and Karnataka, casting their vote, and other people from the Kannada film industry coming in to vote, so many of them. So please, these are visuals to prompt you to go to the polling booth. We have Professor Chambi Puranik, who's been with us on News9 throughout this build-up to the Karnataka election, and finally we've reached polling day. Professor Chambi Puranik, you've been sitting there listening to everybody. Basavaraj Bommai, DK Shivakumar says 141 seats minimum. Please, take over, sir. You are already laughing.
Yeah. You see, I mean, Mr. Nair pointed out that about 39%, I must give you the correct figure. 39% candidates have serious criminal charges. Within that, murder and other things, they are all there. And couple of people are contesting from jail also. You look at the kind of audacity or the kind of slap on the face of voters they are making. So that means to say that irrespective of corruption and criminal charges and all that, now people, political parties, I must blame them. They are guilty of giving seats to them. They have nominated, and they are powerful candidates. They have muscle power, money power, and all the tricks of the trade, which they are capable of. But the beauty of democracy is, I recall what just now Sudha Murthy, Narayan Murthy's missus, she said, and Narayan Murthy, Sudha Murthy said, we are voting for democracy, should vote for good leaders, better leaders, kind of people who are devoted to the service of the people. And Narayan Murthy said, I am worried about democracy, and I want to vote and see that democracy is strengthened or safeguarded because of my grandchildren. So that is the kind of message that should go across the people. People should vote. Today, if you don't vote, you have bequeathed or given up your right to correct the democratic process and respect the right candidates or the right kind of thinking that's required for people. So therefore, I think, in Bangalore, Mr. Nair is right. Whatever it is, BBMP is a very corrupt administration and all that. But, how to correct it? You should go and vote. Go and vote in en masse. And especially the 16, 17 lakh voters, new voters, they should go and make a decisive mandate or a kind of expression through protest. Not a nota. I don't approve of nota. Nota is no way to express our opinion. That shows, the negative tendency. URL plus MLS. The third thing is, there is no difference between any party. All the three parties are guilty of that. They are to be blamed. There are so many corruption charges which have not seen the light of the day or logical end. So that is the kind of thing that you should worry about. I think, people of Karnataka are quite enlightened. As Mr. Nair and Rajendran said, they are also aware of this, but who to choose? Which among the three? That is the question, big question. So therefore, my repeated request to voters is, you elect the best among the worst, the least corrupt fellow who will not damage our system or quality. I think that kind of thing people have to.
Professor Chambi Puranik, when it comes to telling it like it is, very few do tell it like you do. These are things which I find it so difficult to tell people on national media while I'm going live. Please choose the best among the worst is the word coming in from Professor Chambi Puranik. Mr. M. Rajendran, you want to come on that?
Yeah, so Krishna, just taking on, Election Commission also needs to take some blame. It's not the political parties and others. You know, they started something called systematic voter education and electoral participation, which aims by 2024 there will be 75% voting percentage in the country
India, across
in
the
India, according to the election commission. Now, has that happened? Doesn't look like. You know, what have they done? You know, if you look up to the run up to the Karnataka election, we didn't see that kind of a hype which was to be created. We didn't find any personalities, you know, famous film stars. They might not be talking on things which they should be, but they should be talking on at least right to vote.
Right. We have Mr. Narayan Lakshman also joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Narayan Lakshman, thank you so much for taking time out. Talk to us. We've seen voting percent of around 8% so far in the first 2 to 3 hours. Not really great. But what are your thoughts as we complete the first 3 hours of polling day in Karnataka?
Well, I think it's off to a slow start. As you said, one would hope that the trend indicates, greater proportion of voters coming out. And I think that is possible. We're still in the early hours. I think at the end of the day, what will bring people to their feet and to the polling booth is how strongly passionate they feel about the core issues on their mind. And in this case, there's a very interesting question of, is it going to be questions of relating to Hindutva and Hindu identity and the politics of the BJP, or is it going to be something more broadly, talked about by the parties, BJP as well as non-BJP, especially the Congress and JDS, which relates more to governance, corruption, civic development, all of these things. And I think we'll get very quickly, we will be able to gauge people's mood. Is there a sense of anger about how this has happened or failed to happen all these years in the incumbent government? Or is there a sense of, yes, they have performed well and we need to put them back in power? I think some of the exit polling may reveal those trends. But at the same time, I would caution to say, let us wait. Exit polls are notoriously wrong, not just in India, but across the world. So we'll have to just wait and see how it evolves. Fortunately, this time we'll be, as you know, getting the results quite quickly by May 13th. So all eyes on what's going to happen.
Right. And if I were to ask you quickly, you've seen the Congress party sounding confident time and again, talking about 140 to 150 seats. Just this morning, DK Shivakumar says minimum 141 seats. B.S. Yediyurappa this morning saying that 130 to 135 seats for the BJP. The Prime Minister going on a campaign blitzkrieg, in the days leading up to polling day. And then there's so many controversies where you're talking about the Congress party unnecessarily talking about Bajrang Dal and getting itself twisted. Are you still seeing a clear one-way swing in Karnataka this time around, or are you expecting a fractured mandate like always in Karnataka?
That's a great question. I think it's going to be fractured because, this is, let's just face it, let's just take a step back and look at the politics of Karnataka. The politics of Karnataka, let's say, if you compare it to neighboring Tamil Nadu, is quite different because you have caste elites who have dominated socially and politically the scene since the state was, officially defined and its borders were defined. So you have the Vakaligas, you have the Lingayats, you have the Brahmins, you have several middle castes, and then of course a very large number of lower caste groups as well. But the Vakaligas and Lingayats have dominated politically. And I think given that balance of power in society, you have, through the caste system and so forth, you have seen a similar balance being reflected in terms of politics, where whether it's the BJP, Congress, or the Janata Dal, all three being nationalist parties, national parties rather than a regional party in the likes of Tamil Nadu where you have the DMK and ADMK, these national parties have tended to have a lot of factions, infighting between the factions, movement of leaders across party lines. And as a result, you never really have the kind of massive swing from one party to another that you see in a state like Tamil Nadu, where ADMK sweeps to power dramatically, or the next cycle it'll be the DMK. So I think in this case, we may see what I said earlier, a sense of, the anti-incumbency effect, a sense of reaction to development or the lack thereof under the previous government, or the current government, I should say. But at the same time, the margin of that reactive outcome in election results may not be large. It may surprise people. It may be closer than you think, because let's face it, people are also keeping an eye on, and this is something I think Amit Shah, Home Minister, alluded to, which is, there is a sense of the center and the state have to be able to play a cooperative game with each other in the sense of resource allocation, in the sense of the federal give and take of within federalism, federal politics. So I think you're going to be looking at people also mindful that the BJP can deliver some tangible benefits to the man and woman on the road, on the street. But at the same time, you are going to have a section of voters who are concerned about, the divisive nature of some of these politics, whether you're talking about the hijab issue or other things that have come up. And like you said, it could go the other way too with the mention of the Bajrang Dal. It could backfire in the face of the Congress. So it's going to be a give and take. And I think usually in such scenarios, you end up with relatively narrower margins of victory for whoever comes to power.